Ahead of a crucial meeting of EU leaders in Brussels tonight, Donald Tusk has said he has no optimism a Brexit deal will be reached. With negotiations at an impasse, the European Council President says UK Prime Minister Theresa May must bring concrete proposals to the table. Well, let's get some more on this, and we can talk to Simon Usherwood. He's the Deputy Director of the Brexit think tank UK in a Changing Europe. Mr. Usherwood, thank you very much for joining us on the programme this morning. I'm going to go straight to it. The million-dollar question: how to break this deadlock and solve the Irish border issue. Have you got any ideas on that one?
Well, if I did, I wouldn't be in my current job. I'd be advising governments all the time. It's not just the deadlock now. It's a deadlock that's been there for many months now. And I think that really reflects the difficulty of the situation. We're seeing some things coming through in recent days, in the past week, but nothing that works both for the EU and for the UK. And I think this is the real challenge, that whilst there might be some technical agreements that are possible between the two negotiating groups, the real difficulty at the moment seems to be what can be acceptable to the British Parliament, because they're going to have to approve this deal as well. And I think that was part of why we had the delays and the blockages over the weekend.
Well, as you say, it's coming down now to sort of rhetoric, to this is a game of poker, a negotiating game, with Tusk calling on May to bring concrete proposals to the table. Is there a sense that May and the UK side are going into this summit tonight on the back foot?
Not so much. I think part of the difficulty is that both sides think that the others have been a bit unreasonable. So both sides are saying you need to come forward with proposals. So the UK wants that from the EU want that from the UK, and we risk having the same situation that we saw in Salzburg last month, where everyone was waiting on everyone else, and it got slightly bad-tempered. And I think there was an awareness that that wasn't a very helpful situation. So really trying to make sure that there is an advance. But from what we know, the British government haven't got new proposals to table, which means that I think this meeting is likely to be very much a stock-taking exercise by the EU, trying to decide whether they want to have another meeting next month to try and move things on, or whether they want to put more effort into preparing for a no deal, and partly because they worry that a no deal might genuinely happen, but also to show the UK that they are prepared for the worst, and as far as they're concerned, that the UK will suffer a lot more from not agreeing something.
And just quickly, on the UK side, deep divisions, all this is sort of complicated by the fact that even on the UK negotiating side, there are people who perhaps voted Remain, people who voted Leave, and this ever-evolving question of the people's vote that still is calling for a second referendum. Do you have a sense that that could ever materialise?
At the moment, that looks still really unlikely. If you remember how much Theresa May was unwilling to let even Parliament have a say in this process, she's even less likely to be willing to let the population have another vote. And you'll remember that one of the reasons we're in this situation is that the referendum in 2016 didn't go the way that the government of the day thought it would. So it introduces a lot more uncertainty to the process. It introduces a lot more delay to the process. And I think really Theresa May's view has always been we have to leave on the 29th of March next year. And if that means pushing through Parliament, then so be it.
It does. Thank you very much. Simon Usherwood, Deputy Director of the Brexit think tank UK in a Changing Europe.